Welcome to the channel all about economic board games. I have got a small card game for you today, and I'm going to be giving you an overview of Oh My Goods. We've got the designer at the top right there, and it's brought to you by these guys at the bottom right. Now this is a 2 to 4 player game. I'd say it's light to medium complexity and roughly takes about 30, maybe sometimes up to 45 minutes. And in this game you're sending out your workers to produce goods from all those factories, and you'll be turning that money and all those victory points on the factories and assistants you might hire into victory points there. Now how is this one going to work? So you'll be starting off as the owner of this char burner here, and you can see some nice artwork underneath there demonstrating that. You start off with 7 goods, and each of those goods is worth the value at the bottom here 1. Now this char burner then is going to require these goods here to pump it in to produce this main good here in the cog. You can also additionally spend cards from your hand with this symbol to get more of it, and you put these on. The more goods you got, the more money, and you'll be spending this money at a value of 1 to be buying more cards, more factories, potentially assistants at the top here to give you more power when you send your workforce to produce. And you can see the cards are multi-use, so it's going to cost you this amount of coins. This is victory points for the end of the game, and you can see there's a host of things. Usually the colours match to create sort of synergy. So brick manufacturer, you're going to need these goods here to produce bricks, and you can see the value's 2 in this case. So if you have one of these on here, you can see it's worth 2, whereas those are worth 1. So that's kind of how the currency works out. You don't get any change in this game as well, which is interesting. So you start with those. You start with a worker, which you can either use efficiently, and you can see if you do, you're going to get 2 goods produced. So if we sent them here and we do have exactly these requirements, it's going to produce us 2 goods, which we just take from the deck here. And if we don't think that we're going to be able to get all these goods, we could go for this sloppy worker, and he allows us one reduction on these resources. Say if we manage to get the 2 grain but not the wood, that would be fine. We still produce there, but we only produce 1 card. So it's an interesting decision process as to how you're going to send these out, and it'll make more sense as to how you're going to acquire these in a minute. You also start with 5 cards, and as I mentioned, the cards can be used for multi-purposes. You've got the actual symbol here, which you can use to spend from your hand to meet the requirements down here, or you can actually build these cards, so you've got potentially more buildings you can produce various stuff from, and they've got the victory points and the costs at the top. So a few uses for these cards. Now the phases, then it's nicely depicted on the actual your worker here. So the first thing you're going to do is you get those 5 cards. If you're not happy with them, you've got the chance to discard them all and replenish the exact amount you discarded. You can't keep some and discard those, you have to do the whole lot. Then each player is definitely going to get 2 cards per round extra, so it gives potentially more variety from round to round. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to go into the sunrise phase. So this is the marketplace, and from this big pile of cards you're going to reveal cards until you get 2 sun symbols, and that's this little symbol here. So I've already got 1, and we literally keep going. There we are, 2 symbols. So that is the end of the marketplace at sunrise. Now you're going to be using, as we say, a fair bit of information, but only these symbols here during the marketplace, and you're hoping to use those to fill the requirements on here. So you can see we need 2 grain and a wood. We've fortunately got the 2 grain out, and we look at our hand and we haven't actually got any wood, but if we did have wood on these symbols, you could spend that when it comes to the production phase to complete this. And this is the decision process now, where each player, they've seen what happens at sunrise, they have to make a decision as to are they going to send their worker to this building or any of the other buildings and send them sloppily or efficiently. Now it's a bit of a gamble in this case because they know they've got the 2 grain out there, but they haven't got the wood here to fulfill it. So they could go here sloppily and guarantee that they're going to produce because they know they've got the 2 grain, and if things don't go well in the second part during the sunset, they're going to still be able to produce it. Or are they going to take a gamble and go efficiently and hope that one of those wood comes out? And we're going to do that in this case. So once everyone's decided that, simultaneously you can also put a building down. So you're looking at your cards, so rather than just using for these symbols here, you could decide to build one of them. So let's just say we fancy this mill, and we're going to put that face down. Now these would be kept secret normally, and you can see the cost is 4. We know we've got 7 goods there valued valued at 1, so we've got enough money. So you plonk that down and that can get built. We then go over to phase 3, which is sunset, and you do exactly the same as sunrise. You're waiting for 2 of these little sun symbols, and there they are straight away. Fortunately, we've got a wood for that player. So the active player will go first, and this is the production phase, which you can just see there, the little cogs. And in this phase, they're literally going to look at the factories where they've sent their workers. And in this case, we've got 2 grain, which we can see from the market, that's fulfilled. And we have the wood as well. So we don't need to spend any cards from our hand, which we couldn't have in this case anyway, because we had no wood. If we did have wood, we could also funnel that wood into this extra chain to produce more of it. So we'll start on this side then. So we do have the requirements of the marketplace. We get to produce efficiently. So we take 2 off the top here, and they go on there, which now represents more money and more goods, and well, more goods which are valued at 1, should we say. Now if we did have wood, which we don't, let's just assume this was a wood, we could pump it in here, and that's how you get extra crates on there as well. You would then go to the building and you'd pay the cost here for, so you get whatever money out of there for, and you now build this here, put it next to it, and you've got a mill. Now you can only ever use this mill on future turns when you actually choose where to send your workers. So you can see you've got this opportunity cost of, am I going to go here and potentially not produce that one, or am I going to go here sloppily? And that's why you want to aim to get these assistants. Now when it comes to that building phase, if you don't want to build, you can choose to take one of these instead if you meet the requirements. So if you set collect 2 yellow buildings and a black, you can see we've got a yellow and a blue. You can then take this card rather than building, and you're going to have to pay the 6 coins as well. And if we did take this one, not only is it worth 3 victory points at the end of the game, but it's got this symbol here. So say if we decide we're going to send this worker here, you put this one here and it stays there until you pay the cost of 2 to move it on a future turn. And this gives you more options. This person can build, produce, should I say, when these goods come out. Now, slight difference, these ones have to have the exact requirements. There's no option to turn it over and work sloppily. And then let's just say you had a few more buildings. This worker's now got the options to go, right, am I going to go to the brick manufacturer or the char burner? So you got more options based on the information you know from the sunrise phase, and you're taking that little gamble and you're looking at your hand and you're deciding, right, which cards am I going to use for building, which cards am I going to keep for the resource? So it's that flux and flow, and you're going to essentially keep going until one player has 8 buildings. And once you hit 8 buildings, you're going to play out 1 more round, and during that round you've got the luxury of actually using all the cards in your hand to do 1 more chain reaction for them without having to have an actual worker there. So I should add that to be able to utilize this chain reaction, this chain here, you actually have to have had a worker there and at least produced it, and then you can funnel goods in. Now I'm going to give you a good example of the synergy that applies in this game. So you can see here we've got these yellow cards, and imagine if you had built this mill here. You can see when you send your worker there, you're going to need these requirements. It's going to produce you grain. You could put more grain in to get more grain, yeah. And you would then, if you did have this bakery, and let's just assume you had a couple of goods on this one. You had a few goods on the mill. When you send your worker here on future rounds to the bakery and you manage to produce here, you can move that the goods on your mill, because you can see there's a mill there, and if you did have goods on your charcoal, let's just get one of those as well, you would then funnel in 1 of each good. So you got 1 of your charcoal, 1 of those bags of grain, pop both of them in there because there's 2 symbols, and you've now got 2 bread valued at 4 each. And let's just say you equally managed to get this food factory. You can see if you went there and you produced all these, you could turn this bakery, this bread, and move those 2 over to this food factory, and they're now worth 8. So you can see the synergy of cards, but you can see it's going to take you a little while to get this going because you're going to pay 21 coins for that, and you're going to need the hope of getting all 3 of those buildings throughout here. But the game has a variety of different colours. You could generally go for the reds, all about bricks, and you know what else we got? We got the cattle ranch. Some of them are about meat as well. You got the blue buildings. There's also some buildings that are kind of like market offices, which give you goods in case you don't quite get them out from here as well. So a lot of juicy goodness. business of collecting the right cards, building these factories, making that decision as to where you're going to get your worker. You're kind of racing to get these assistants because they're limited and they don't get replenished, and you're getting all those goods, turning into money, buying better things, getting all those victory points, and the most victory points is the winner. There we are. Hope you enjoy it. If you're after a more insightful video, I'm going to be giving you a run through of this one next week.